we've Zoomed with other people, and every time it seemed like an issue. I don't know what, it's a different issue.
Yeah, Alice, your cousin just called me on my cell and said that she was having a hard time with her internet down or something. So she's not gonna maybe be on, but
Oh, okay.
But you're the secretary's here and we're gonna have it recorded.
Right.
Yay. And we are about 3 minutes away. Is there anything you wanted to ask Meredith about anything related? I did have a couple of things that I forgot to just a misspelling of Letitia Campbell.
I know, I figured I missed that. I'm sorry, I should have asked Martha.
Well, I didn't even catch it. And then she just, and of course, I think that must be something through the years. She's had to.
How is it spelled, Martha?
It's
L-E-T.
L-E-T-I-T-I-A.
Just like the AG in New York.
Okay, L-E-T-I-T-I-A.
Yes, yes.
Okay. How did I spell it? I forgot.
It was a C. It's either way. It's a name in the Campbell clan spelled that way. So we,
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a C, it's a T instead of a C there.
See, okay, thank you. Okay.
And then the Mountain Retreat Association down under the chart that I had up, it says Montreat College President appointed Dottie, and then it's the Mountain, not Montreat Retreat. It's the Mountain Retreat Association.
Oh, Mountain Retreat. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, we're about ready to start in a minute, but I think Dottie did email me. She said they're starting their live or in chapel attendance for, she's going to be leaving about 9:50.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
just that we have to be there for advising today.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm
cool.
sorry about that, but I'll have to scoot out.
And look at all that stuff on your wall. I always find it interesting when I watch TV and any news. I always like to, everyone sits in front of their bookcases. And I think it's fun. Is that your big office? Now she's getting, she's gonna close her door. Okay. Let's see who we have in attendance right now. Alex, can you tell? I can go up here and push that. Oh, look, Maggie's here. Jean is here. Martha, good. Alice got on. And our scientist advisor, Mr. William Seaman, is on. And Alex is going to be.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Alice, you got your internet going again. Good. Now that it is 9 o'clock, your agenda, I'd like to have everyone, we'll be welcoming others that are coming on too, but I'd like for us just to bow for a moment of just of a reflection, please, a silent reflection. Okay, thank you. And welcome to all. I would like to say that the last time I know that Meredith Green, a wonderful new secretary, and Jean Norris were not able to give an introduction of themselves because they had audio issues. So just for this time, I'd like maybe, Meredith, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and who you are?
Okay. Well, I started coming to Montreat as, I can't even remember how old we were, 8 or 10 or something like that. I'm Alice Lintz's first cousin. So they lived in Spartanburg, and we would come up from Florida, and we would usually stay the month of August because it was so beastly hot in Florida. So we just started loving Montreat from that way. Sort of fortunate, but unfortunate. We have 16 or 17 cousins. So we had our own little club program. So we never really got to know other Montreaters. And it's weird now when I talked with Nancy Midget and a couple other people, they know all the other people that were in clubs in Montreat, and that we we sort of missed out, but we're meeting now. But my sister and I bought a house in Black Mountain about 14 years ago. And we just weren't really looking to come back to Montreat. My parents had retired here and built a house. And we found a perfect one-level house that has become a money pit. but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful money pit. But we love it because it's a one-story house. And we have the most wonderful neighbors. So we absolutely love being back in Montreat. But that's sort of the history.
All right, Miss Jean.
All right, related to Montreat. My first instance of Montreat was coming here to visit Brad's parents. And this was after they had remodeled the house that we're in to become their retirement home. I lived in Florida for a long time, and I never have thought of Montreat in the summer as cool, but you know, comparatively speaking, yeah, maybe it is. One of my first memories of Montreat was hearing people talking about how there were bear troubles and how you needed bear protection. And this would have been in the probably the mid 80s. Mm. And one of the things his parents loved to do was to take us on a drive in the back seat of their car up to all of the new construction in Montreat. And I remember thinking as I was getting seasick in the back of the car, well, this is why there's a bear issue. You're carving up the bear habitat. Where else are they going to go? So since then, I've learned that the town maintains sort of a bear and a deer feeding ground up above the residences. Doesn't keep the 5 deer from coming to eat with us fairly regularly, like twice a week. We love that. Yeah. Land care, environmental issues, they've always been my thing. And Brad and I started attending the meetings, even though we're not actually members, we'll continue to attend the meetings. And 1 year now, stretching on into 3, we have chaired the, the native plant sale, which hasn't been a native plant sale for 2 years. So this year we're into figuring out what is it really this year, and who can we hand this to for next year? So that's where I am.
Well, we welcome all the time and effort you both have been given to this, and we are looking at our meeting goals for this morning and plans to update and upgrade the Montreat Landcare website. I will be focusing on that because I've been doing a lot of research on this and background information. Patty Powell is getting her first shot and she could not come today. She said, in fact, she's getting it now. She's in line getting it. And so she has sent, and I've sent out a beautiful report and very creative brochure and some thoughts that she needs some approval of with some action on money spending. And then with the help of Alex, and in the near future, we're going to be looking for funding for present and future projects, just to get a handle on what it is and all these different accounts and how I can work with Darlene at the office and with Alex on that. Now, looking down our agenda, I want to be sure that we know that we can add some items if you wish. I've talked to Maggie. So Maggie, we're going to have you update about the bylaws that you've had with Dottie and with Alice. And I might let you do that right after we have the review of the minutes, if that's okay with you. Are you? Oh, Maggie, is that good? Yeah, she's muted. And then just to note that we do have Meredith Green as the at-large member, and that should be there down at the bottom when we do the Town of Montreat entity reports. But she is obviously doing her secretarial job as well. All right, let's go to our reviewing of the minutes of February 3rd. We did a couple of corrections while we were coming on with just some misspellings. Is there any discussion or corrections? Martha?
I have to unmute. I found a couple of other little things that I can send to Laurie.
Yeah, Meredith.
Meredith, sorry.
That's okay. I know it's.
I looked at your name, not at your face.
I'm known as Eric now, but in real.
You're known as Eric. We'll get everybody. I've got a couple of little things that I can send to her related to the wildlife habitat and the Montreat Trail Club and who appoints, how those people are appointed.
Okay,
And I can send that to you. Basically, the wildlife habitat is not an entity under the MRA.
okay,
It's actually started under Parks and Rec, and Dottie will remember that when O'Neill started doing the wildlife habitat program for the town. It's never been a whole committee. It doesn't ever have to be. One person kind of handles that. So that's why there's no quorum, because there's one person. I mean, it is a quorum if anyway, I can send you some of that.
okay,
That'd be great.
For that paragraph.
okay.
And I think that was it.
Okay, any other comments or additions or corrections of our minutes?
Just a thank you to Meredith
Mhm.
for a great job after her first meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. She was able to hear us, but she couldn't speak clearly in
Right, yeah.
the February meeting, but thank you. And do I hear a motion to approve our minutes, please?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
And then we'll move on. I don't know if we need a second. I did get my Robert's Rules of Order book out last week, and I'm going back through that. Alex, we were going to get Maggie just to give an update. Maggie, you can unmute.
Oh, there she is.
We can come back to her. She's searching in the dark.
That work?
There she is. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay, okay. On behalf of the bylaw committee, which is Dottie and me and Alice, we would just like to report that we are into the depths of figuring out how to make it simpler and to clarify some things that are not very clear. And we will get back with you with a big report, probably in April, maybe in May.
Yeah. And we'll set aside a good amount of time for any of that with some mailings before.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. All right, Miss Alex, the 2021 budget and financial report, please.
Yeah, so Landcare has two accounts. There's the annual budget, which began this year at $1,000. We've spent $113.67 for web hosting for the first half of the year. And we have $886.33 remaining in that. There's also the memorial fund that was set up after Nancy Hope passed. We had originally budgeted a revenue of about $750, thinking that we might raise that much. But we actually raised $2,999.95. So of that amount, $49.95 was spent, but that was spent on a wrong account, out of the wrong account. So I put in $50 into that $2,999.95. So the available revenue at this point is $2,099.95.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, what I'm understanding is that we have two Landcare funds with two accounts in each, and that's under the special revenue that you were reporting on with the contributions. And then that area of the departmental supplies, I'm investigating that because of the need of doing some website refurbishing and paying by our new webmaster. And then, of course, Patty Powell needs to go in and get some expenses for some brochures and printing. And it looks like that would come under the current balance of $705 in the departmental supplies. Is that right?
No.
Alex?
So the $705, there's a total of two accounts. There's no more than two. The $705 is what was budgeted after the $49.95 was spent mistakenly out of that account.
Okay,
What's actually in that account now is more than what was budgeted. So that was $2,099.95. That's
yeah, but that's going to be, yeah, and I will talk with Darlene and I'll also get back with you, but we know that we are carrying over the current balance of the contributions account of Nancy Hope. And it will stay there even throughout the end of the year of June 30th, right? That's going to always be there. Okay.
correct.
Any other thoughts or questions from the committee for Alex? Hey, thank you. Someone wanted,
Right, so quick clarification from
Mhm.
Alan on the restrictions on the Nancy Hope. Are there any restrictions in terms of how those funds can be spent?
No, there weren't any restrictions set up at the beginning for that. It was for Landcare. So it's Landcare pretty much has the ability to spend it however it sees fit.
Okay, thank you for corroborating. That was my understanding.
yeah,
Thank
thank you. Okay, any other questions? Appreciate that, Alex. If not, I just need to go through just a little outline that I have composed about our website. And then if this is the next item, the website update. I have had a fascinating 3 or 4 weeks. I left you all February saying at the end, our motto is to act now. And so I thought, well, this is something I need to act now on. So I went through all the history. Martha helped me a lot with it, and Bill Seaman, and of course, Brad Hester was wonderful with giving me some information. We have had some dire needs of maintenance and updating. Since the 2017, around that time, it was completely reconstructed. And then we also had Patty Smith, the Montreat Presbyterian Church administrator, helped us with content and putting that in as an administrator. And Brad gave her that permission. And so I went into with a referral to a wonderful fellow who's with AB Tech, but he is a webmaster. And his name is Jeff Hudson. He's a native of Black Mountain. He oversees the AB Tech web pages and constructions of that. He's a web graphic design professional. He possesses very strong technical skills and understanding of the internet space, created of designing cutting edge websites and integrating the text and videos of web design. He graduated from Owen and went on to AB Tech with other educational experiences, but he went back again, and he has a degree in web technology. He's a digital media technology and a very proficient in multiple programming languages. And if I gave you that language, as I said to Dottie, it's just like Greek. It's just another world of HTML4, HTML5, CSS, PHP, and JavaScript, all that type of stuff. But where he's really helping me out now is in the content management systems. And we use a DV theme that's used as WordPress. And that is where we've been trying to find Paul in New York. And he has all the keys to the kingdom. There's layers, as you all know, of a website. And that is where we need to go back to our original creator of the site. And what I have found is that talking with Alex, he's helped me out, and so has Angie, but we still are waiting to hear from Paul. What Jeff was able to do, and I set him up with a Zoom meeting because we have a treasure in our valley. Her name is Ann Neal. Many of you maybe know her, and you maybe do not realize that she is going to be Patty Smith's replacement, but she has an experience of 25 years and I'll give you a background of her in a few minutes, but she has been working with business systems and as an analysis, excuse me. So when we were able to get into the site, this is what Jeff has probably 17 points that we need. And we discussed these at the Zoom meetings. The homepage has revisions. It disappeared and he restored that. There's a lot of duplicate homepages. There are plugins. Site needs some security updates, and there's site needs an SSL certificate. So all of this language, he was on the Zoom meeting with Ann, and it was marvelous to hear both of them be able to communicate together. So that is my most wonderful thing that's happened in the last month, is finding these two wonderful people. Now with Anne, she is living here in Montreat permanently, but she works at home, and her husband David is working with Bank of America. And so she is very excited to take on the website. And the biggest news is she is a volunteer. She is going to give her time to us. And so our upfront expenses will be with Jeff, and I will be talking with Darlene about how to do the invoices when he reports. And he's going to have a certain time when he'll stop, and we're not completely redoing everything, but I told him my goal, or our goal, and anybody that has a website, when anyone goes on there, you're going to say, wow, they know what they're doing. We want that to be the picture of who we are. And that reflects on the college, it reflects on the town, and it reflects on the conference center, because we are all in this together. I appreciate all the support from all of you that I have, and particularly Brad, because he was able to open up the website for the administrators of Anne, and also with Jeff. So that is where we are with the website. And I'm going to be reporting a lot more. And at the end of our meeting, I'm going to ask all of you, if you would go on the website, go to it, particularly where your entity is, have information, see where it is and what it is that you think needs a new look. And I've talked to Dottie about this, and I've even talked to Jeff. We want it to be reflection of when someone goes on the website. It's great for like any administration or our committee to see that we have really wonderful things, but we want it to be attractive to students, young people. They're the ones that are researching, and Landcare has so many different links to the community that we can use. And so it has to be a really friendly look, and a wow, it's not that it has to look pretty. It just has to look right, clean, and up to 2021 looks. And I've never known so much website language as I've experienced in the last month. So that is where we are. Is there any questions or anything that I need to hear from you all with chiming in on anything regarding our website? If not, I'm still pursuing, and we will keep you updated. All right.
Grace?
Yes,
Yeah,
Bill? No.
Brad. This is Brad.
Who was it?
It's Brad. Can you hear me?
Yes, Brad. Thank you.
Sorry for.
We give you permission.
I just want to commend you, Grace, for stepping up and taking charge that this gets worked on, because it's clear that it really is. We need to do it, and I think your goals for having something that's attractive and usable and accessible are exactly the right ones to have. So I just personally wanted to thank you for the energy you've been.
Oh, well, Brad, as I said, you've been my lifesaver a couple of times in the last couple of months with getting things forwarded to me when we had our agendas. So, and then you're able to give the permission, and I said, well, Brad, how did you get permission? He says, I gave myself permission. So that's another word in the web world. But thank you, Brad. I will say that there is a discount price that Jeff will have for a nonprofit. He usually is $80 an hour, but he's going to be giving us $60 an hour. And then, of course, we won't be paying the monthly 20, or whenever we've had the 25 an hour with Patty Smith. That was what we contracted, because Ann Neal will be maintaining it, and she and Jeff will communicate with each other. Thank you, Brad. We're glad you're here.
Gracie,
Yeah.
As we examine things on the website and come up with needed edits, do we have any guidelines yet for what format would be helpful? If we formatted something in Word, can it go up exactly as it would look in Word, or is there something else we ought to be doing?
Well, that's a very good question, because Jeff and I had a chat one day. I mean, I've talked to him maybe 10 times, and he emails me, we text. I know he likes Mexican food, and he has grandchildren. And so we've kind of got a really good relationship over here. And I said, now, you know, my husband was an English major, and he says this formatting of how it looks. He said it should be centered in with this. He said this is not like a magazine or writing for a report. He said you have another way of going about formatting, and that is where Anne is going to be of help. And so I will get back to her as to how it's presented.
Okay.
I think we need to understand that we've got to be sure that what we put on there has been, you know, edited properly with, you know, no misspellings and all that. So if you get your red pen out, that's an important thing there. But Anne's going to communicate that, and we'll get that back. That's a good question, Jean.
Okay.
Any others?
No, that's it for now.
Okay, and Dottie, you will be a big help because you know what students like and what they see and and maybe we can use some guinea pigs for
Yeah, that's a good point.
for your yeah, Bill?
Maybe I'll chime in here, having chaired this committee in the past and sort of overseen the development of the current website, which was quite an upgrade from the earlier version.
Yes.
Sometimes it has been like pulling teeth to get contributions. And it would be wonderful if every Landcare member were to sign up and say, I'll commit to writing even one article during the course of a year. Because if one person has to write a dozen articles, let's say, it becomes onerous. But if people can sort of buy in, there are lots of stories, and I think every Landcare committee member probably has a good one to tell. So my 2 cents worth.
Absolutely. And some of them will be postings, and others will be those that you can read more and just keep going down and get the depth. And that's what Martha and I've been chatting about too. And Bill and Martha, you have guided me to say it's got to be done, and this is where we're going to do it. Thank you. Okay. All right. The environmental concerns might even come under something we're going to be looking at. We have a recommendation that we will be getting to regarding when we were talking about the leaves and bagging. And I know that I have worked with the tree board chair and Vincent, and we are jointly writing a letter and have sent it to the board, town council and the mayor concerning the collection of the leaves. But what I want to do is to let Meredith, if you don't mind, Bill, just look at that recommendation, since it does relate to an environmental concern about our citizens. Is that okay, Bill? Can you wait? Okay. Where is Meredith?
What, so about Firewise, you mean?
The recommendation. We're going to skip that and then go back up to Bill for his beautiful presentation that he's going to have.
Oh, okay. Well, you've very nicely written it here, basically asking the town not to classify the college students and not private contractors, but just a handyman who would rake up leaves for older homeowners, and for the town to be able to pick up those leaves, those bagged leaves. Whereas a private contractor, you would expect they would take the debris away.
So that this work is done by a licensed contractor is a different category, and
Right.
that's a good wording. And I know that Alex and I chatted about this briefly at the town tree board meeting, and he will report back because he will make that just have that discussion with the council. So thank you for that, and for Nancy Midget.
Yeah, Nancy did that.
Yeah. Okay, now here is the highlight at 9:26. It is Mr. Science Advisor, who has had a beautiful experience in the outside world. And we have a presentation that I would like for Bill. If you would like to unmute, and Alex is going to help you out. Now, remember, this is where we have seen Bill in so many ways as our scientific the science of looking at our lands, and particularly now the watershed and the mountain streams. Great.
Well, good
Take it away,
morning,
Bill.
Landcare friends and colleagues. It's nice to see so many of you, and everybody's looking so well, and lots of smiling faces. I notice all of the our female members have their pictures up, whereas none of the other men do, and I suspect they're all in their pajamas. So that's okay. Thanks for the opportunity to report back on the Flat Creek project of the stream team from 2020. The title of my project is long, but I think it's descriptive, and I'll just read it to you. It's basically 3 parts. Mountain stream water quality baseline. Whoop, just lost the picture. Quantified, but I've got a copy of my slide here. Quantified for community stewardship in inaugural citizen science studies. I presented this report a couple of weeks ago at the annual virtual meeting of the North Carolina chapter of the American Fisheries Society. I've got 10 slides I'm going to share with you. And at that meeting, I chose to do the lightning round, 5 minutes, 10 slides in 5 minutes. Today, I'm going to take about 10 to 12 minutes and just fill in some sort of Montreat specific details that I think you might appreciate. So for instance, my co-authors, Anne-Marie Traylor and Jeff Mustin, you'll meet in just a moment. We could not have done this project without Anne-Marie and Jeff. So they need their recognitions. Next, Alex, please. The project I'm presenting this morning was a pilot study, and we accomplished, I think, at least 4 things. This was the first time we ever quantitatively documented the water quality of Flat Creek. Flat Creek, you may realize, is a headwater stream of the Swannanoa River, which then goes to the French Broad River. Secondly, we established a stream team of citizen science volunteers, and we trained them up, and they were successful in carrying out our 2 research projects last year. So that's a good thing. And this was done under the auspices of the Montreat Landcare Committee. The data we collected will go into a larger database concerning stormwater runoff and management of the forest, for example. And finally, hopefully, community awareness of Flat Creek is building. And with our revised website, I think we've got great material and a great way to educate. So I just want to tell you, pictured here is Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie lives in Black Mountain. She directs the Environmental Quality Institute, which is a nonprofit, and we contracted with them to do our analyses. So that's where most of our pilot funding went. But she went above and beyond in terms of training and volunteering time with us. And on a personal note, a couple of things you might be interested in. One, she's got a child enrolled in Montreat's morning school. So we see Anne-Marie in town quite a bit. And secondly, I invited myself to her laboratory a couple of years ago and found out that she has a master's degree from the University of Florida, where I spent my career. And her major professor is one of my longstanding colleagues. So we had a great entree. We really hit it off nicely. And then Jeff Mustin, the guy in the blue shirt, his son is Oliver, who became sort of our mascot during the project. Jeff lives in Montreat with his wife and son, and they're expecting. Jeff, out of the blue, called one day and said, I'm interested in land care. What can I do? The wonderful thing is that Jeff is the lead water chemist at Sierra Nevada Brewing. So he knows the language and the techniques, and it's just been wonderful. He also coordinated our Saturday morning volunteers. Next slide. I'll pick up a little bit of speed here. We all know, I think, in this community that Flat Creek is a treasure. It only flows for a few miles through our community, but I think each of you, just by the smiles I see on your faces in the gallery here, have great memories of outings in Flat Creek. I also pointed out during my talk that Montreat Landcare has made Flat Creek a priority, and the presence of brook trout, pictured here, and the hellbender salamander are indicators of water quality. And so as we started thinking about Flat Creek during the Landcare meetings a few years ago, we thought, well, this is probably a pretty healthy creek, but we need to, let's sort of get some documentation. So in October 2019, we did a pilot reconnaissance study with Anne-Marie. We looked at 8 water quality indicators, and that formed the basis for us to make a proposal to the North Carolina chapter of the American Fisheries Society for funding that would let us do analyses on a more rigorous basis. So that's what I'm reporting on now. Next, please. We assembled the stream team. Some of you have participated in it. We trained all of our folks to do sampling in Flat Creek. We did two things. One was our Saturday morning studies, as many as we could afford, where we went to 5 different locations along Flat Creek on 5 different dates in 2020 to look at what we call the physicochemistry of water with the analysis done by the Environmental Quality Institute. And here we're helping, our volunteers are doing something else, helping Josh Holbrook in the middle with some other kinds of sampling. And you may recognize Gil Campbell over at the net, and then there's Jeff Mustin again. And then the other thing we did was to monitor the swimming hole every Wednesday morning for bacterial count. So working with volunteers is a wonderful experience. I learned a lot. This is the first time I ever tried to coordinate sort of a group of citizens, and you've got to keep your volunteers engaged and recognized. So back in October, we were safely masked and distanced along the Flat Creek banks at Monkey Bottom's picnic area. We had a hot dog cookout and we awarded certificates. If it's a team, you've got to have letters. So we awarded the letter M to our volunteers, and standing at the bottom receiving a certificate from Martha is Eddie Kramer, some of you know. And Eddie said to me almost with tears in his eyes, "Bill, I never received a letter for nothing. This is the first letter I've ever gotten." So we had some fun with this. And I think on a serious note too, some of these projects can be feeders for Landcare members too, or recruiting citizens to get more involved in Landcare. So next slide, we'll get into the nitty gritty of the science. And I've got 3 slides like this. And I'm going to walk you through this chart because it can be a bit busy. First of all, this chart shows 3 chemical parameters that have actual regulatory standards in terms of the quality. And the good news is that at all of the samples in the left-hand column under the Flat Creek values, all samples, all sites, all days were below the regulatory limits that are shown in the middle column as depicted in this chart. And they're also of a higher quality than the regional means from all the analyses that Anne-Marie has done across WNC. That's in the far right-hand column. So let me go back and we'll digest this a little bit. In the middle column, where it reads minimum standards for protection, what I've done is to list the 3 standards for trout waters in bold, the ecosystem, and a process called eutrophication, which is enrichment of water. And then for these standards, we've made measurements of 3 different parameters. So if you look over on the left, the first one is ammonia and nitrogen. You can see the Flat Creek values are from 0.01 to 0.08. The good news is now you look in the middle column and you look at the trout water standards, and it's 1.0 in summer, 2.0 in winter. So our levels of ammonia and nitrogen are below the minimum standard, and that's a good sign. And if Josh is still on, he can come on and add to my discussion. And our values are also lower than the regional mean. The same thing for the middle row, nitrate, nitrogen, 0.1, 0.2 is much lower than the ecosystem standard of 10 units and lower than the mean. And then the last thing, orthophosphate, again, 0.01 to 0.05 is lower than the 0.15 eutrophication standard. So what does it all mean, basically? These 3 parameters that we measured, in practical terms, think of lawn fertilizer. Think of fertilizer that agriculture puts on its land. When these constituents run off into the water, they're fertilizing the system. And when they're in excess of standards, they can basically cause this process of eutrophication. Think of algae blooming, sucking up oxygen when they decay, and leading to fish kills, for example. So it's really important that these 3 parameters with regulatory standards be below the regulatory levels. In other words, we've got healthy waters for trout, we've got a healthy ecosystem based on these 3 values. So that's kind of long-winded. We'll go to the next slide, which is very, very brief. 3 other parameters that do not have regulatory standards basically concern the acidity values that you measure in the stream. And in every case, for conductivity, for alkalinity, and pH, a term most of you recognize, our values are below mean values. And again, they're just healthy indicators. Next slide, please. These are, as opposed to chemical parameters, these are physical parameters. And the 2 things we're looking at concern the sort of how clear is the water? What's the visibility? And the first one on the left column is turbidity, and the other one is suspended solids. And basically for turbidity and suspended solids, with a couple of exceptions, we were always below regulatory thresholds. It's interesting, and I'll shorten my talk here just in terms of keeping an eye on your time. We had 2 red values in the left-hand column. Under dry conditions is when we typically did our sampling. Our turbidity values were low, in the range of 0.6 and typically under 10. One site had a reading of 13.0. So here we're exceeding the turbidity limit, the NTU values it's called, for sort of a healthy stream. I suspect any one of you, when you've gone out walking after a heavy rain, you've seen the silt washing into our lake. And the question is that a big deal or not? And so we did a sort of an ad hoc spontaneous set of measurements for turbidity and suspended solids right after a major rainfall event. And that's where the red value of 21.0 comes up, a high value. I've listed then the standard for protection. For aquatic life, it's 50 units of turbidity. For trout, it's 10 units. So on 2 different occasions, one dry study, one rainfall event, we exceeded those limits. And in both cases, the values came from the same site. And can you guess where it was? Robert Lake Park, where you've got activity. People are messing around on the bank. Soil is washing off. Children are playing in the creek, for example. So there's a little bit of concern there in terms of releases of sediment, whether it's from the park or whether it's from a contractor who maybe hasn't protected the stream bank and so forth. So here's a place where maybe we raise a red flag. I think that covers that. Let's keep going. And this will be my last data slide. Shifting gears, every Wednesday morning between Memorial Day and Labor Day, we had our citizen science volunteers out taking water samples, which were then sent off to Asheville, where the Mountain True folks, at no charge to us, did analyses for E. coli bacteria. Out of the 16 weekly samples where we measured for bacteria, we were in the safe range. Under 235 colonies is the standard. 2 days, these samples, as you can see in parentheses on the slide, we had values that were maybe triple the 235. We had 660 and 730. A couple of explanations for that. We talked to our water quality experts, and they didn't see a cause for a health alert, the fact that these bacterial levels were high. A couple of explanations, one of which, one of our samplers may not have handled the sample properly, so we might not have had the right quality control. And then also, we didn't have records of rainfall events. And as you know, we've had some discussion about pet waste washing into the creek and being carried into the water. And here maybe is a little bit of evidence of a smoking gun. But what I'd really like to do is we'll do some follow-up research in the coming year. So let's see where we are here, drawing to a close. Next slide, my last slide, or next to last slide. And I think we've determined that Flat Creek running through Montreat is mostly a healthy stream with those 2 red data points that I've mentioned. I think we can believe the data, except maybe when Josh Holbrook talks about the length of hellbenders. But somebody's got to be telling the fish tales. The concern for Montreat maybe is for siltation, runoff into our streams and into our lake. And not only for what's in Montreat Flat Creek, but what are we sending downstream to Black Mountain and the people who want to fish for trout in the Swannanoa River. This picture is of our lake after a heavy rainfall event, and you can see the plume there, the levels of brown water. I've indicated a place where maybe we had some sampling error concerning bacteria. I think certainly our citizen scientists proved that we had a successful way to engage residents of the community. We've built a database for what I call the Montreat Cove ecosystem, and we'll be more than glad to share the data with Josh and the Montreat College folks in terms of their studies of invertebrates and water flow in the creek. And also, of course, the data are available for any of the stormwater management issues that are coming up. Hopefully community awareness is growing, and some of the partnerships we've had just were essential, as I've mentioned. So let me go to the next and last slide and just show you some of the folks who have helped out. And front and center is the North Carolina chapter of the American Fisheries Society. They provided the small grant that let us do the analyses. Mountain Shrew did the assessment of bacteria, but then we had people from Trout Unlimited and the state's Wildlife Commission and the Statewide Watershed Network, as well as Anne Marie's Environmental Quality Institute, and Montreat Landcare, of course, provided the umbrella for it all. So again, I've taken a good chunk of your agenda, and that's my story. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you. And thank you, Alex, for getting the screen up for all that presentation. Bill, you are our advisor and a wonderful scientist, and we are so privileged to have you with us. And you've also continued to support me in my endeavors with this land care. I'm wanting to move along here because of our time frame. I know that that I need to take a look at the rain garden project. I would like to move that into next, although it's, we're here with the beautiful one at the rain garden down at the new town hall. But I'd like to also say that the scheduled meeting in the National Wildlife Federation conference call is in April. And that position of the wildlife is going to be filled in the next 2 weeks with your approval in March. In April. Now, excuse me, the native plant sale. Let's move along with that because Jean, you wanted to have a report. We have had chats about it. I'm going to get a sip of water. Excuse me. So Jean Norris, unplug.
Okay, unmuted finally. There is no physical report. I am compiling information in a Word format, contacting vendors, thinking about what all it needs to be. I have one new thought, and I'm open to thoughts from other people as well. Gracie was suggesting that we do something in lieu of a plant sale, which would bring community awareness. So I'm thinking pulling together the list of potential vendors for native plants and locally grown flowers and landscapers who can help with this, maybe even some seed catalogs, distance vendors. We have some of this information already in other publications, some of which are already posted on our website. But I'm thinking a tiny little report at the head of this, maybe a couple of paragraphs long at the most, that introduces the idea that land care and the town are in favor of using native plants, and also raising the issue that our cove has been clear cut more than once. And we've had a progression of forest. We've had die-offs of chestnuts. We've had die-offs of hemlocks. So we're having more die-offs of things that are just reaching the end of their natural life. So we are at a point where we could do a considerable amount of restructuring of our landscape completely legitimately. And I think Tree Board is working on that in a way. So I don't want to go into depth with that, but just mention it and then lead people into here's where you could get some more help with design, with purchasing, probably resurrect the logos that we've done on the back of the Landcare thing because it's just pretty. And find out from the vendors, do they want their telephone numbers listed? Do they want their websites listed? Probably all of them want their websites listed. And is there a teeny little 2-line paragraph that they'd like me to list of what they're featuring this year? So that's the idea. And I'm not sure how big a document it is, whether it's a trifold or whether it's just 2 pages. It remains to be seen how much space that takes. And I'm working on a layout in Word, which will or will not be able to go directly onto the website at some near future date. So that's the whole report, I think.
Great, Jean, great. And as we know, Jean and I've talked a lot about the support we have in our valley, and of course, all these wonderful vendors. And I appreciate your thoughts on that. And if anyone has any questions for Jean or any comments related. All right, looking at our time, I know that I need to go, if I can just go right to Dottie, because she's going to be leaving shortly. And then that would be down in your entity reports. And then we'll come back up to, and probably I will, the children and outdoors update. I will move into next month because Patty is not with us, but she has been working on the children and outdoors. So if, Dottie, would you like to make a comment? I think there's something going on in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, 2 things. One is that when you see Patty's report about the backpacks, we just have redone them all and we'll be putting up posters again about the backpacks. Scattered, the posters will go around campus and potentially over at the conference center as well. So maybe Tracy, you can help us determine where we might want to put up posters about the backpacks that are available in the library. But we've got a very attractive poster for that, and we're just working on getting that approved so that we can post that. And the other exciting thing that we did was, through all the information about the Chestnut Foundation, we were asked to go over and help with the planting of new chestnuts. And they're doing a huge experiment over at the experimental station by injecting the roots. So there's all kinds of things going on with the chestnuts. And so we got to go over and fill containers and plant chestnuts, and they all went into the greenhouse. I mean, I think they were planting like 5,000 trees. Chestnuts. Wow. So that was really, really exciting. And it's all because of the attention that the town of Montreat is getting about the planting of the new chestnuts. Mm-hmm. And so Bill Evans from WLOS had done a story about the chestnuts down at the Black Mountain campus 10 years ago. And he's hoping to do another story. So he was there with us while we were planting. He was filming, and he also interviewed Jared from the Chestnut Foundation and Katie from the U.S. Forest Service, who gave all the background information. And then he will be coming again in April at some point. He'll be contacting me so that he can film down at the Black Mountain campus and look at the trees down there, as well as I think he's going to interview some folks here in Montreat as well. The other important thing that the Chestnut Foundation has said that, we have a lot of chestnuts that only grow maybe 2 or 3 feet here in the cove. And Jared will be contacting us, I think, because they need to get cuttings from those young trees so that they can graft them into other trees. And so hopefully we'll get more information so we know exactly what he's looking for and how we can help with that cutting for the grafting. So it was a very exciting day, and yeah, I'll keep you informed of what's happening. They said probably 80% of the trees will die, but it was just a whole interesting thing. So when that report comes out on the news, it's going to be jam-packed with content. So thank you to the town.
Dottie, where was the place that you planted the trees? Where did you go?
We were over at Bent Creek
Bent
at
Creek.
the forest office there,
Oh.
the experimental forest.
Okay, Dottie, you're permitted to leave to go to your.
Thank you. Sorry, I have to leave early, but it's
And
advising
Josh-
time, so we have
And
something.
give Josh our best. And
Okay,
we'll
yeah.
get an update
Josh
with
is
him.
still on, I think.
Oh, is Josh on?
Yep.
Oh, Josh, I didn't move, I moved you. Oh, okay. Josh,
Okay.
you can stay there. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dottie, our Vice Chairman. As we move into looking through the agenda, I'm wanting to get to the Children and Outdoors update. Patty Powell has spent an enormous amount of time. We've had a lot of good conversations. And she is, of course, apologizes for her absence because of her COVID vaccine. But attached to, our meeting notices, we have a wonderful printout of what she's been doing to re-energize the children outdoors and build on all the great work that she's accomplished or that's been accomplished. And what we need approval of is looking at some information because we need funds to be given to her to design a new document for printing. And that was also attached. It's a draft, and that publicity flyer could go out. And we just want to be sure that we are giving her the support financially, as well as looking at a trifold brochure and cards to go on bulletin boards at the post office. It's interesting with her phone calls to Kids in Park and the Arboretum. She's turned up some very interesting information, and that was printed out on her report. And if that was, I'm not going to reread that part, but what I want you to know is to consider a use of cost of $250 that we can get from the Kids in the Park. And she's choosing the lichens. Is that right? Yeah, the wildflowers or the salamanders. And we're rotating these brochures throughout the valley. And I think if you notice that she's going to have activities and update on our website, links to the Kids in the Park. So I'm going to give her a lot of time next month in talking about the children's and outdoors and the publicity. But I wanted you to be aware that we're going to start spending some funds on that. And she wanted to be sure that we had that approval. So please read her draft, and I really appreciate any thoughts that you have. And if I'm assuming that we can go forth, like Martha would say, and we'll spend some money on these brochures and get everything updated.
Yeah.
Any comments for that? Patty is amazed. She's a kindergarten teacher, so she has an educational component to this this activity and her committee. That's the Children and Outdoors. Any member reports? Alice, I know you're going to have a big afternoon, and Alex has been very gracious to help us out with our updates. But Alice, would you want to have any comments as we move down? I'm going to skip over the Hemlock Conservation update and go down to our member reports. So Alex or Alice, anything from the town?
The only thing, Grace, I'd like to say is how important it is, in my view, that there be grassroots up views coming to the town council. And I'm referring specifically to the bagging of leaves issue, which has become a great big issue. And I think this is very important that both the tree board and Landcare, their joint letter has come up, and the statement that was included from Firewise as well. So that will go
Good.
forward, and we'll have that
Yes.
conversation.
Great. And on behalf of the tree board of Ann Vincent's projecting to do the celebration for the Arbor Day and continuation of anything that the mayor would be doing for that report will be going on through the summer or in the fall. And I don't think Ann is. Ann, are you on? She was trying to get on and off, but I'm not sure she is. Josh, would you like to have any other report of the college and updating anything if you're there? Dottie left.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't think we have anything to report. It's been a very busy semester, like all semesters have been, but I thought the semester would be less busy. So it's got kind of blindsided by that. We're doing the final sampling for our partnership with Land of Sky coming up. So final macroinvertebrate sampling there. And I think that's really all we've got coming up in terms of town related stuff. I got notification. I don't know if I mentioned this last time or not, but got a pretty large grant to be able to do dissertation research next spring and be completely off of classes for that. So I'll be working in Connecticut and Florida, and then probably the North Carolina coast as well, working with aquatic macroinvertebrates, so bugs and dogs. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes.
yeah, thank you.
And anything any other updates about students or working within the students? Well, I think I'll get back to you personally on that too, Josh, because you have always had such a great relationship with the outdoors and your college students. Into the MRA Association, the Mountain Retreat, Tracy or Jason. Tracy, I see you're there. Any report or update from you?
And we'll be starting back our Sabbath weekend retreats, March 11th, I believe it is. And so hopefully that will bring a few more people into the Cove to enjoy nature and so forth in the spring. So see folks around, and hopefully that's what they're doing. Good.
I see we have some visitors as I move along here, and I should have welcomed those, but we're glad that you're there. We know that the Trail Club, is Jason available? Is he on? I don't see his screen up yet. And then we look down at Earth Ministry. I'm going down to look at the Trail Club. It's Jason. Jason is on there or not? I'm sorry. Okay, we'll get up there and get an update there. I know that in working with the Earth Ministry team of Montreat, Hal may not be on, but I can send him, I think I can give some backup reports as we send out the minutes from some of the people who are absent. But I will have to say that it's really a pleasure to be working with so many of you, and thank you for your patience with our when we have these online and not in person committee meetings, we do want to reach out and say, we'll get there at some point. And I want to thank Alice, and I thank for the town that we're getting an enormous amount of support, and I appreciate all the funding that we're doing. And if the budget is going to be something that you'll be discussing this afternoon, Alice will be back in touch with our proposals for the big picture for Landcare. So are there any comments at our sharp hour of 10 o'clock? We're going to do some revisiting of some of the items, particularly with looking at our outdoor education and update for children in the outdoors next month. Any other questions or any things we need to consider? Martha, did you have something?
I wanted to thank Bill for his excellent presentation. And I would love to see that presentation be shared within the larger community. It reinforces the work of a lot of volunteers who, as some of you know, because you've been involved, have been at multiple training sessions and have really become involved. We've met new neighbors sometimes in the process, but I'd love to see that. I don't know if there'll be a cottagers meeting this summer or how it can be presented in a way that the wider community, as well as presented to the town council, to see where, what's been happening with Landcare, where some of the money that Landcare has gone to help pay for some of this testing, and the importance of knowing about our environment as planning goes ahead with the town with the conference center related to like the lake and the park and so forth. You know, what are we looking at for the long term? So thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. The pictures we looked at this morning came off of a PDF. I sent it to Alex just so it was a small file size. So that PDF could easily be made available on the town website, on the Landcare website, and so forth. Also, to sort of keep myself on time, I actually wrote out a script. So I've got that as a document I could send along, just in terms of if we wanted to develop a story, say for the town Montreat Minute, for example. I think you could easily lift some of those words to just sort of make up a little story to go along with the slides. So
Excellent.
leave that with you.
Thank you. And all the time, Bill, that you have helped me and Martha with getting this going. It's a wonderful opportunity to be with all of you, and we will meet again, and looking forward to following up with all of you individually. And I appreciate, again, the communication of all of you within your own entities and what you're doing for Montreat and for Landcare. So if there's not any other business, I think our next meeting will be April 3rd, and we will be focusing on something related to more of our spring and summer plans. So, and Alice, thank you for representing us at the council meets this afternoon in the retreat, and we'll look through the layers and make sure we're getting the funds in the right places and spending it wisely, because we want to be good stewards in our money as well as taking care of our land. So thank you, Martha, and past President, Mr. Bill, and you are wonderful to keep me in touch, and thank you for all of your communications from all of you. And Tracy, I look forward to talking to you about some things related to the conference center too. So I appreciate seeing your face. Brad, again, you were one of my lifesavers this past month. And I think I'm going to be giving you some updates. So look for some news flash from our website building. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for
I'll
your
be
help.
sending you an email.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See y'all later.
Okay. Thank you again for your time today, guys.